Hey guys, Viking 82 here, back with a new Viking Orations. Got another review for you today, and this time around I'm going to be talking about the debut full-length album from the band Kurnugia, entitled Forlorn and Forsaken, put out through Memento Mori Records just this year, and I know I have probably pronounced that band name wrong for the millionth time. I don't think I have ever actually pronounced it right, but I've never actually known how to pronounce it. So, regardless, if you are not familiar with this band, they are a five-piece death metal band based out of Cleveland, Ohio, that formed back in 2012. Among the ranks, you have Brian Bergeron on bass. He was formerly of Nun Slaughter, formerly of Decrepit, among others. You have Larry Kozumplik on guitar. He was also in Decrepit. Chris Dora on drums. Sorry, I couldn't read my own writing. From Soulless. He was also in Decrepit. He was also in formerly of Ringworm, among others. Dylan Gordon on guitar. He's in Limb Splitter, formerly of Embalmer, among others. And finally, you have Paul Gorefiend on vocals. Of course, he is most known for being the vocalist of Embalmer. So, as I said, this is the band's debut full-length album. It is 10 tracks, clocks in just over 37 minutes in length. Previous to this, they did have two EPs, Tribulations of the Abyss back in 2013, Condemned to Obscurity back in 2016, and they also did a split this year on 7-inch vinyl, which I have, with Surgikill. So, yeah. What do you get with this album? Well, and I know I say this a lot, but to me, horror and metal go together, just, hand in hand. So the intro of this album it reminds you of something that Mortician would use. It has that old school 80s horror film vibe to it. So, you get that at the beginning, and then I have to say that the drums on this album, they just hit hard. There's lots of double bass work, some really nice blast beats on here. The bass is very audible in the mix. It's not too high, but it could always be heard rumbling away in the background with a nice tone to it. Track 3, Crown of Suffer. The bass just sounds absolutely nasty and evil on this track. I don't know what it is about that particular song, but for some reason it just sounds extra nasty on that track. The guitar tone is nice and heavy. You got a nice mix of fast-picked riffs with a more chuggy, heavier style of riffing. Got quite a few things that I noticed on here that kind of stood out to me that I really liked. Track 2, To the Cursed Depths. The opening riff has a real exhumed feel for it. Not just in the guitars, but also just the whole opening of that song with the bass and the drums. Just everything reminded me of Exhumed. Track 4, Shroud of Damnation, right around the 220 to around the 224 mark. I couldn't really pinpoint it exactly, but there's this really cool solo that they do in that song that I absolutely loved. Track 5, which is probably, I want to say, my favorite track on this album, Pervert the Pious. I just love that opening riff and the way it mixes with Gorefiend's growl. It starts out real heavy, then it settles into a nice, just ominous rhythm before we turn to that same opening riff. There's a nice guitar solo with a nice use of whammy bar, I have to say, and a nice scream from Gorefiend right at the end of the song. Just really badass. Track 7, The Sanguine Altar. Oh my god, that song is just, to me, is just monster riff after monster riff. The opening is just heavy as balls, I gotta say. And about 1:32 in, Gorefiend does this scream that just sounds so killer, and then there's a nice solo at 2:20. It's like, oh, yes. Loved it. And speaking of Gorefiend, his vocals on here are just absolutely killer. Just like Embalmer, he just turns into this real powerful performance, in my opinion. He has this low, not guttural growl, but it's still intelligible. You still kind of make out what he's saying compared to a lot of other death metal vocalists. He doesn't vary too much. He does use some screams here and there. And then on track 8, All Consuming Grief, he uses them a bit more than the other songs. He actually uses that for probably a good quarter to half of the song. Overall, this is just a really solid death metal album, I think. It has heaviness, catchability, and it just makes you want to keep coming back to listen to it more and more. I know I've spun this probably close to a dozen times, not only because I was trying to do the review for this, but also just because I just loved listening to it. So definitely go check out Forlorn and Forsaken. I will leave a link below to the band's Bandcamp so you can check this out for yourself and pick up a copy if you so wish. Give this a solid 9 out of 10. So go check them. Go check out Kurnugia. As I said, I've probably pronounced that again for the 1,000,001th time completely wrong. Maybe the band will finally correct me on how to say their name. I don't know. But that is going to do it. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. And until next time, stay brutal.